I've always worn a bone flute around my neck. I once told Chloe Armstrong that if I ever played it, it would mean I had lost all hope in her. The wolf pack that raised me would come to take me back, and I would disappear from her world forever. Terrified, she swore an oath to me that very day. She promised to protect me for the rest of her life. And to thank the pack that raised me, she drove away all their natural predators within a 100-mile radius. She even hired a security team for the vast plains they roamed, dedicated solely to protecting the pack. But then one day, my wolf father, the one who raised me, accidentally tore the favorite white shirt of Chloe's first love. For that, she summoned a butcher to hack off my wolf father's forepaws and throw him into a vat of sulfuric acid. I held my dying wolf father and roared at Chloe. I told you I was raised by wolves. How is this any different from hacking off my own father's limbs? But Chloe just covered the eyes of Ryan, her first love, and stared at me with a cold expression. You're clearly just some bastard my stepfather brought back from God knows where. Don't try to fool me with those stories. My wolf father, his body a bloody mess, was still struggling to crawl toward me. I scrambled over and held him in my arms. To repay the Armstrong family for giving our pack a sanctuary, I chose to stay. You couldn't bear to see me go, so you followed me for hundreds of miles. I never imagined it would lead to this, that I would be the cause of your suffering. That night, holding my wolf father, I bowed my head a few times before Mr. Peterson's memorial plaque. Mr. Peterson, the Armstrong family's sanctuaries are all over the country now. They don't need my ability to command animals anymore. I should have left long ago. I was about to play the bone flute on my chest, but he struggled and stopped me. Wolves repay their debts. The Armstrong family had taken in the old, weak, and injured animals, giving our pack a home. I knew that unless it was the absolute last resort, he didn't want me to destroy the Armstrongs. The veterinarian looked at the bones, flesh dissolved and cracked from the acid, and shook his head, saying there was nothing he could do. Doctor, he used to be the fastest wolf in the entire forest. If you can't reattach his paws, isn't that a death sentence? I cried my heart out. My wolf father reached out with his mangled stumps to wipe away my tears. Then, realizing his paws were gone, curled into a dejected ball. I watched over him all night, eventually crying myself to sleep. With a loud bang, the door was kicked open. The butler dragged me out and forced me to kneel in the Armstrongs' grand hall. Ryan was slumped in a plush armchair, his collar wide open, looking half dead. I tried to stand, but Chloe slapped me hard across the face. Ryan was out doing field work when he was attacked by these ungrateful beasts. Tell me, did you order them to do it? She pointed to an iron cage nearby, and I saw several wolf pups locked inside. They had been beaten so badly their skin was split open, and they were barely breathing. Ignoring the stinging on my face, I crawled to the cage to try and free them, but the butler dragged me several feet away. Chloe's eyes darkened. You don't care about the man who was hurt because of you, but you rush to these animals. Bury them alive. I dragged my body back to the cage. One of the pups had a leg band I had put on myself. I had delivered them myself, deep in the forest. Its soft paw rested in my palm, as if telling me not to worry, but its mournful whimper broke my heart. I gritted my teeth and glared at Chloe. They didn't hurt Ryan. They told me they saw him being kidnapped, and they scared off the attackers to save him. Chloe froze for a moment, a flicker of doubt in her eyes. Ryan immediately rose, looking weak, and took Chloe's hand. It was them, Chloe. They were the ones who hurt me. When have I ever lied to you? He must be playing his strange tricks again. No one can understand what animals are saying. If he really could understand them, would he have let that venomous snake he kept bite you? That just proves he did it on purpose. Chloe shot me a furious look, then ordered her men to take the entire cage to the woods behind the mansion. Before, trying to find an antidote for Chloe, I had let that same snake bite me hundreds of times. The result was always the same. It wasn't venomous. I could never figure out why that normally docile snake would have suddenly attacked her. Before I could finish, Chloe lunged forward and grabbed my throat, squeezing as if to kill me. Then how was I poisoned? Ethan, there's a limit to your lies. If Ryan hadn't brought the antivenom, I would be dead. I broke free from her grasp, arched my back like a wolf, and leaped onto the cage, baring my teeth. The crowd backed away in fear. Anyone who wants to touch them will have to go through me first. Seeing my feral posture, Chloe's eyes widened, and her tone softened. I just don't understand you. Why do you care so much about these animals? Why do you act like them? A bitter taste filled my mouth. She used to love that I was close to animals, letting me keep all sorts of creatures at the mansion. She even used to say I was cute, like a little wolf cub. After she was bitten by that snake, all my animal companions were sent away. Only my wolf father was allowed to stay. And now she says she doesn't understand me. With tears in my eyes, I held them back, but then a sharp blow struck my head, and everything went black. When I woke up, my scalp was throbbing with a splitting pain. I clutched my head, trying to soothe it. I heard a familiar, cold voice nearby. I told you to go easy on him. Why isn't he awake yet? The butler bowed, apologizing profusely. Seeing that I was awake, he quickly alerted Chloe. She strode to my bedside, paused before sitting, and couldn't resist a sarcastic remark. So your head hurts now? You were so stubborn before. Those animals are dead. Go apologize to Ryan, and we can put this behind us. I grabbed the hem of her shirt, my voice trembling. Chloe, why are you treating me like this? A cold look flashed in Chloe's eyes as she yanked her hand away. Mr. Peterson was the homewrecker who drove my mother to her death. You're the bastard he brought home. You set a venomous snake on me to steal my family's fortune. How do you expect me to treat you? I told you if you just behave, I'll let you live comfortably here. But you insist on defying me again and again for these animals. Mr. Peterson wasn't a homewrecker. He and your grandmother only met after your mother's suicide, bonded by their shared love for animals. With a crash, Chloe swept everything off the table, cutting me off. Are you going to start with that ridiculous story about being raised by wolves again? I must have been crazy to ever believe you. With that, she stormed out, slamming the door behind her. Watching her leave, my heart turned to ash. Years ago, while doing fieldwork in Montana, Mr. Peterson stopped a hunter from shooting me. He approached me cautiously, surprised to find I was a naked boy. I snarled and bared my teeth at him, but he just held out his hand. From that day on, he taught me how to read and how to walk upright. He used the Armstrong family's resources to expand the wolves' territory into a massive sanctuary. In return, I used my unique ability to communicate with animals to help him gather rare data, making the Armstrong family a global leader in zoological research and securing them numerous patents. He brought me to the Armstrong estate. A few years later, Chloe and I fell in love. She held my hand and swore she would marry no one else. That all changed when her first love, Ryan, returned from overseas. He brought photos allegedly showing her mother having an affair with Mr. Peterson, and then Chloe was suddenly poisoned. After that, Chloe became a different person, treating me like an enemy. The only person I still trusted, Mr. Peterson's assistant, came in, her expression heavy. Ethan, I've finished the investigation. You need to prepare yourself. The assistant handed me a file. The photos inside made my legs weak. When we got married, Chloe had sworn to me. She promised the Armstrong family would only shelter abandoned cubs and animals unable to survive in the wild, that they would never, out of greed, train animals for dangerous performances. But the file showed that for years, the Armstrongs had been building sanctuaries all over, using animal welfare as a cover to capture rare animals and expand their collection. The photos showed all kinds of animals crammed into tiny cages, unable to even stand up straight. They used canes to force tiger cubs to jump through flaming hoops and monkeys to hold their breath underwater. Cheetahs had their fangs and claws removed to pose for photos. Brown bears were chained in place, unable to move, their bile extracted daily. The ones deemed cheap or useless were euthanized. The valuable ones were sold off to circuses. Many of the poor creatures in those photos had been my childhood friends. I remembered the joy of running with them through the forest, but now their eyes were filled with nothing but terror. They had lost their homes and been badly injured in a forest fire. I thought the Armstrong sanctuaries would be a safe haven for them. I never imagined I was personally sending them to hell. Their original habitat had been turned into a private hunting ground for the wealthy. Seeing them hold up severed animal heads for the camera, I finally threw up. I had done this to them. The assistant steadied me, her voice filled with concern. Ethan, protecting animals was Mr. Peterson's life's work. Now, you're the only one who can carry it on. I gritted my teeth and nodded. I had to get my wolf father out, play the bone flute, and make the Armstrongs pay for what they'd done. I had hidden my wolf father in a locked room. I limped to the door, only to find a trail of blood leading from inside toward the woods behind the mansion. My heart sank, and I ran as fast as I could. Before I even reached the main house, I heard Chloe's voice from a room. If you want a wolf pelt, I can get you another one. Why did you have to? Ryan's voice was full of resentment. That old wolf dragged the carcasses of those pups I buried back into the house. There was blood everywhere. It scared the hell out of me when I walked out. I had to teach it a lesson. Chloe, look at this jacket I had made from its pelt. It'll be perfect for the sanctuary's anniversary celebration. As he spoke, his hand slid under her dress. Chloe's breathing quickened. You're terrible. I kicked the door open with all my might. Ryan was wearing a pelt the exact color of my wolf father's fur, and Chloe was wrapped around him. I limped forward like a madman, about to tear the pelt from his body, but then I froze. I saw the bone flute around his neck. My eyes turned red as I lunged forward and grabbed his throat. Ryan, what is that around your neck? Ryan choked, veins bulging on his neck, unable to speak. Chloe seized the chance to pull me away. Ethan, are you insane? It was just a dying old wolf. I can get you another one. The flute around Ryan's neck was made from my wolf father's bones, just like the one I wore. This flute could command animals. My wolf father had intentionally broken the tip of his own tailbone for me to craft it. I had only ever told Chloe about this, and now she had told Ryan, and let him murder my father. Ryan, still on the chair, pretended to gasp for air, but he smirked and raised an eyebrow at me. I forgot all the human mannerisms I had learned over the years. My instincts took over. I dropped to the floor and let out a mournful howl, my nails digging into the floorboards until they bled. Chloe screamed in terror. Ryan, however, leaned in, grabbed my chin, and studied my face. He suddenly turned to Chloe. This is bad. Ethan is afflicted with a wolf curse. That's why he's acting so much like one. Furious, I grabbed Ryan's wrist, trying to snatch the flute from his neck. Chloe had been hesitating, but when she saw the red marks my grip left on Ryan's wrist, she immediately ordered her men to restrain me. Ryan winked at me. Dispelling this curse isn't too difficult. I learned how from an elder in the Amazon. She had me forced into a dark room. In the pitch black, a piercing, high-pitched noise exploded in my ears. I screamed and clapped my hands over them in agony. A bright light stabbed at my eyes, feeling like a blade being driven into them. Having been raised by wolves, my hearing, sight, and sense of smell were 100 times more sensitive than a normal person's, just like a wolf's. Chloe had always known about my sensitivity. She once playfully screamed in my ear like a ghost, and that single sound ruptured my eardrum and put me in the hospital for a week. She had been so remorseful she'd slapped her own face until it was swollen, crying in front of me. But now, because of Ryan's baseless claim of a wolf curse, she was doing this to me. My eyes burned too much to open. I could only scream into the darkness. Chloe, you know I can't stand bright lights or loud noises. Do you really believe this nonsense about a wolf curse? Through the chaos, I heard Chloe's voice in my ear. I don't, but you hurt Ryan. This is your punishment. The cacophony continued, wave after wave, as the butler brutally forced my eyelids open to face the blinding light. Chloe caught me as I collapsed, her lips tightening as she saw the blood trickling from my eyes and ears. Help him to his bed. Then she took Ryan's reddened wrist in her hands, gently rubbing it and blowing on the skin. Chloe took Ryan to the hospital to have the scratches on his neck examined. After Mr. Peterson's death, Mrs. Armstrong, Chloe's grandmother, had been inconsolable. Her health only recently improving, she entered now, trembling on her cane. When she saw my condition, she was so horrified she collapsed to her knees. Ethan, I have failed you. I have failed Mr. Peterson. To think I raised such a monstrous granddaughter. I know it's your ability to command animals that keeps them peacefully in the sanctuaries. It's because of you that those creatures are so gentle with us, allowing us to collect data and maintain the Armstrong family's status in both science and business. Seeing the old woman kneeling before me, I took a sharp breath, fighting through the pain to speak. Now that Mr. Peterson is gone and my pack has been harmed, nothing will make me stay here. Ethan, it's all my fault. The Armstrong Empire cannot be ruined by Chloe. I'll disown her. I'll cast her out with nothing. Please don't leave. Please help our family one more time. I coughed up a mouthful of blood, my fingers tracing the bone flute around my neck. Ryan has already made a flute from my father's bones. You can go ask him for help. After all, Chloe said he was 100 times better than me. I would not listen to her pleas any longer. A small smile touched my lips. I raised the bone flute to my lips and blew with all my might. Piercing howl ripped through the sky. The color drained from Mrs. Armstrong's face. It's over. It's all over. A few minutes later, a series of heavy thuds echoed from the main gate. Thump, thump. The next second, the gates burst open. Through a cloud of dust, a pack of wild wolves, each one taller than a man on its hind legs, stood roaring. They charged straight into my room. Seeing my weakened state, their eyes grew fierce. The alpha, a massive black wolf with a sleek coat, saw Mrs. Armstrong cowering on the floor and raised a claw to strike. Mrs. Armstrong, having never seen a wolf so large, scrambled into a corner in terror. I spoke softly. "Don't. Let's go." The black wolf knelt beside me, gently lifting me onto its back with its jaws. With a single howl, she led the pack away, leaving nothing but a cloud of dust in their wake. That evening, Chloe returned with Ryan, a new puppy in her arms. She was shocked to see the main gates of the estate smashed beyond recognition and hurried inside. Were we robbed? The wooden door to my room was in splinters. She rushed in, but I was nowhere to be found. "Ethan, what game are you playing now? You've made a complete mess. You wanted a pet, didn't you? I bought you a puppy. If you don't come out, I'm getting rid of it." Suddenly, she saw her grandmother repeatedly banging her head against a wall, blood staining her collar. Chloe rushed to stop her, but her grandmother spat at her. "You wretched girl, Ethan is gone." Chloe was taken aback for a moment, then she laughed. "He ran away again? How many times is that now? He's an orphan, where could he possibly go? Don't worry, he'll be back in a few days." Mrs. Armstrong was so furious her face contorted in rage. She raised her cane to strike, but Chloe caught it in her hand. "That's enough. I haven't even dealt with you yet, and you're acting like this. If you hadn't cheated, my father would still be alive. For all I know, Ethan is the bastard child of your affair, and you're the only one who treats him like a treasure." Hearing this, Mrs. Armstrong brought the cane down hard on Chloe's head. The Armstrong family was on the brink of collapse. Our research was stalled. Mr. Peterson brought Ethan here to save us. He was raised by wolves in the mountains of Montana. He can communicate with all living things. How else do you think those endangered species, the ones others spend years trying to glimpse, would just magically appear for you? And now, you monster, you've destroyed everything our family built. Everything. Chloe narrowed her eyes, silent for a moment, before roaring back at her grandmother. "I got that data through my own hard work. Besides, I have Ryan now. He's a world-renowned zoologist." Chloe pulled Ryan, who was standing nearby, into an embrace. Ryan puffed out his chest and laughed. "That's right, Mrs. Armstrong. Ethan just uses a bone flute. Not only do I have a flute, but I also have a PhD in animal behavior." Seeing that Chloe was beyond reason, Mrs. Armstrong shook her head and staggered away. "Fine, I'm too old for this. Ethan is gone. Nothing else matters." Could Ethan really be gone for good? She considered it for a moment, then dismissed the thought. Ethan loved her too much. He could never leave her. That night, as Ryan idly caressed Chloe's back, her mind was filled with the image of my face, covered in blood. Maybe she had gone too far this time. She sent a text to her assistant on iMessage. "Go to the sanctuary. Find a wolf that looks exactly like the one that died. Bring it back." Ryan, lying beside her, had put on his wolf pelt jacket again. Chloe felt a surge of irritation and pulled it off him. "Don't wear that. It's creepy." Ryan looked hurt, but he smoothed her hair and pulled her close. "Chloe, the sanctuary's anniversary is soon. Forget about Ethan." For the first time, Chloe spoke to him coldly. "Worrying about Ethan is my business. You just focus on the anniversary." Ryan pouted and rolled over to the far side of the bed. For once, Chloe didn't try to comfort him. The next day, Chloe waited by the gates all day, but there was still no sign of me. She kicked at the dirt in frustration. When her phone rang, she answered it immediately. "Ms. Armstrong, we have a problem." Chloe's heart leaped. "Have you found Ethan? Has he admitted he was wrong?" Her stomach was in knots, terrified of hearing bad news about me. "No, it's about the sanctuaries and the habitats." Chloe cut him off, her brow furrowed with impatience. "I told you the only priority right now is finding Ethan. Don't bother me with anything else." A day passed, then two, then a week. Chloe searched the entire country, using all her connections to check flight manifests and border crossings, but she couldn't find me. Filled with regret, she knelt on the stone steps outside her grandmother's door. "Grandma, please, tell me where Ethan went." Her grandmother's door remained shut. Her pleas went unanswered. For 3 days and nights, Chloe knelt there without food or water. Her knees were bruised and swollen. Finally, she collapsed on the stone steps. Ryan rushed to her side, helping her up and giving her some water. "Let him go. You still have me. Why are you torturing yourself and upsetting your grandmother?" Chloe pushed his hand away, her voice weak. "You don't understand. Ethan and I are married. Even when I thought he set that snake on me, I never wanted him to leave. I just wanted him to listen to me. That's all. Then she passed out again. When she opened her eyes again, she groggily grabbed Ryan's hand. Ethan, I knew you wouldn't leave me. Ryan hid the anger in his eyes and said gently, Chloe, it's me, Ryan. The light in Chloe's eyes died. She snatched her hand back. Ryan bit his lip, took a deep breath, and forced a smile. Today is the anniversary celebration. You can't just ignore the family business, can you? Just then, her grandmother walked in, leaning on her cane. Ryan started to stand, but the butler seized him and forced him to the floor. Mrs. Armstrong threw several vials in front of Ryan. We found these in your room. You're the zoologist. Tell us what they are. Ryan's face went pale. He shook his head frantically, claiming he didn't know. Mrs. Armstrong then threw a stack of lab reports at Chloe. See for yourself what kind of snake you've been loving. The reports identified one vial as a snake pheromone, designed to induce an aggressive stress response. Another contained a potent neurotoxin, identical to the one that had poisoned Chloe. And the third vial was the antivenom. Mrs. Armstrong's voice was filled with grief. Because you were poisoned and he couldn't find the source, Ethan let that snake bite him hundreds of times. He was trying to develop an antidote himself, never suspecting the snake wasn't venomous at all. Chloe began to dry heave, overcome with horror. Ryan crawled to Chloe, clinging to her leg, his eyes filled with tears. Chloe, I was just so jealous. I never thought I'd see you again, and when I did, your heart belonged to someone else. I only did it because I love you so much. Chloe shoved him violently to the floor. I drove Ethan away for a monster like you. I should be dead. Mrs. Armstrong then pulled a handful of torn photographs from her pocket and threw them at Ryan. So this is why my granddaughter has been accusing me of infidelity. It was you, pulling the strings all along. She coughed, overcome with emotion, then continued. The photos Ryan showed you were doctored. Mr. Peterson dedicated his entire life to his research. He often forgot to even get a haircut, and eventually just shaved his head. I never once saw him with a full head of hair. Chloe was speechless, utterly stunned. It had all been a lie, a web of lies spun by Ryan, and she had believed every word. For Ryan, she had ordered the mutilation of the wolf that raised Ethan, right in front of him. She had let Ryan skin him and carve a flute from his bones. Knowing his sensitivities, she had deliberately tortured him with light and sound until he bled from his eyes and ears. Chloe stared at the doorframe, wanting nothing more than to smash her head against it until she died. She turned her fury on Ryan. Guards, throw him in the tiger enclosure. The one we haven't fed all week. Ryan immediately began begging for his life, pleading with Mrs. Armstrong to save him. Mrs. Armstrong prodded him away with her cane in disgust. You have no idea what's been happening while you've been ignoring your duties. Ever since Ethan left, the animals have become agitated. There have been multiple attacks. It's all over the news. Our stock has plummeted. Didn't Ryan claim he could control the animals with his flute? Today is the anniversary celebration. He'd better prove it. Chloe clenched her fists. After a long silence, she finally said, Fine. When this was all over, she would find me. She would make it right. The Armstrong Sanctuary anniversary event was swarming with media. Ms. Armstrong, what is your comment on the recent string of animal attacks at your sanctuaries? This kind of behavior is often a sign of abuse. Can you confirm or deny allegations of animal cruelty within your organization? The Armstrong Sanctuaries claim to be the happiest on Earth. Is that just false advertising? The flashing cameras made Chloe feel faint. She had no energy to answer. Mrs. Armstrong forced herself to her feet and addressed the reporters. These are baseless rumors. The Armstrong family operates the most humane and welfare-focused sanctuaries in the world. She signaled for the guards to bring Ryan onto the stage. His carefully applied makeup couldn't quite hide the cuts on his face. Ryan forced down his fear and managed a pained smile for the cameras. As an expert in animal behavior, I can assure you this is merely due to the heat making the animals restless. I'm confident things will return to normal shortly. After the host's opening remarks, the main performance began. One by one, animals emerged from an enclosure, led by their handlers. The crowd was thrilled, amazed to be so close to these creatures. Suddenly, a massive chimpanzee punched its handler and charged toward the crowd, roaring. Mrs. Armstrong frantically signaled for Ryan to play his flute. A high-pitched, piercing sound filled the air. The crowd covered their ears. Even the chimpanzee stopped, clutching its head. All the animals on stage stared intently at Ryan. The reporters were amazed. Incredible! He really is an expert. He can actually make them obey. Seeing this, Ryan grew cocky. What was Ethan compared to him? He would show Chloe who the real savior of the Armstrong family was. He blew harder, the sound piercing the air. But the chimpanzee, which had been clutching its head, suddenly went berserk. Ryan played the flute faster and faster as he scrambled to get off the stage. He missed a step and tumbled onto the grass below. The chimpanzee was on him in an instant, pummeling him with its fists. In the distance, the roars and cries of other animals echoed as a cloud of dust rose into the air. Tigers, cheetahs, brown bears, and gray wolves leaped into the enclosure and descended upon Ryan, tearing at him. Ryan's screams were unending, until his voice gave out. Within moments, he was torn limb from limb, a bloody mess on the grass. The reporters kept their distance, cameras rolling. After this, the Armstrong sanctuaries were finished. Chloe watched it all unfold, dazed. She reached out to one of the wolves. "Do you know where Ethan is? Tell me and you can have my arm. Please." Annoyed, the wolf sank its teeth into her arm. The wound was deep, down to the bone, and blood poured out. Chloe bit her lip, stifling a scream. A faint smile touched her pale face. "There, paid. Now will you tell me where Ethan is?" But the alpha wolf ignored her completely, leading its pack over the enclosure wall and away. Then, Chloe collapsed onto the concrete. She was mumbling one thing. "Ethan, I'm coming." When Chloe woke up, a week had passed. The gruesome, censored images of Ryan's death were front-page news. Reporters had also uncovered videos of the abuse at the Armstrong sanctuaries, along with photos of the wealthy hunting endangered animals on their private reserves. The prominent figures involved all issued public apologies, claiming they had been misled into believing it was legal, and placed all the blame squarely on the Armstrong family. Ryan's secret business of smuggling animal products, backed by the Armstrongs, was also exposed. Overnight, the Armstrong sanctuaries went from being a bridge between humans and animals to an animal hell in the public eye. As the sanctuaries went bankrupt one by one, the government seized the land and turned it into national protected territory. Mrs. Armstrong fell gravely ill and never recovered. The moment Chloe awoke, she was swarmed by reporters. Ignoring the 4 lines still in her arm, she leaped from a second-story window and fled. Under the cover of darkness, Chloe returned to the Armstrong estate. She carefully gathered the leftover pieces of my wolf father's bones and placed them in an ornate crystal jar. She spent sleepless nights researching wolf habitats across the globe, filling an entire notebook with her findings. She nearly froze to death in a cave in Alaska. She fell from a cliff in Yellowstone and broke her arm while fleeing a bear. But she never stopped searching. One day, on a cliff edge in the remote wilderness of Montana, the wolves began to howl. I emerged from the woods to see what was happening. I could barely recognize the creature before me as Chloe. A huge chunk of flesh was missing from her arm, which was bent at an unnatural angle against her chest. After leaving the Armstrong estate, I returned to the forest with my pack. I encountered a team of zoologists doing research there. They were astounded by my knowledge and my ability to communicate with the animals. They offered me a position at a prestigious international conservation institute. I began giving lectures at universities around the world and became well known in my field. I only returned to my cabin in these woods occasionally. The terrain was treacherous, surrounded by cliffs, so the pack always stayed close to guard me. I stared at Chloe in astonishment. I couldn't believe she had made it here alone, let alone that she had found me. But why had she come looking for me at all? The moment Chloe saw me, her legs gave out, and she nearly tumbled over the edge of the cliff. She paid no mind to her own safety. Her eyes were fixed on me, and tears began to stream down her face. I sat on the back of the alpha wolf, watching her with a guarded expression. What wild thing is this? Chloe frantically wiped the grime from her face. It's me, Ethan. It's Chloe. I'm so sorry. I believed Ryan's lies, and I hurt you. Ryan is dead now. He died horribly. I made sure of it, for you. She pulled a few photos from her pocket. They were the uncensored images of Ryan's death, his body torn apart by the animals. I didn't take them. I just stroked the fur of the wolf I was riding, waiting. Of course, I knew what would happen to Ryan. He thought the power was in the flute. But for someone who can truly connect with them, the flute is just a tool. I have other ways to make my voice heard. Chloe carefully pulled out the sparkling, immaculate crystal jar. Ethan, these are your father's bones. I've dreamed of returning them to you. Today, My wish has finally come true. Hearing her words, my expression hardened. I had torn the Armstrong estate apart looking for them, so she had taken them all along. The pack smelled the familiar scent from the jar and lunged at Chloe. A white wolf snatched the jar, placing it respectfully in my hands before turning back to Chloe with a cold stare. Another wolf seized her by the neck, flung her into the air, and slammed her back onto the rocky ground. As the pack closed in, jaws open, I gave a slight wave of my hand. They immediately backed away, bowing their heads at my side. A flicker of hope ignited in Chloe's eyes. Ethan, I deserve to die. To die by your pack's fangs would be a gift. But you couldn't let them kill me. You still care. From now on, we can. I yawned. You're mistaken. I just don't want them tainted by your filthy blood. I have no desire for them to be hunted down and killed as man-eaters. Especially not for filth like you. Now go. You've delivered what you came to deliver. Ignoring her desperate cries, the alpha wolf carried me on its back and leaped away, leading the pack deep into the forest. After that, whenever I returned to this place, she was there. She never dared to approach or speak, just watched me from a distance, hoping for a single word, even one directed at the wolves. She became a part of the wilderness. She drank rainwater when she was thirsty and ate rotten fruit and carrion when she was hungry. Her existence was even more wretched than my own had been as a child. She learned to climb trees at night to escape predators, only to fall in her sleep. Hikers sometimes stumbled upon her, and her feral, inhuman appearance terrified them. Some tried to call for help, but she would cling to the sharp rocks, her hands bleeding, refusing to be moved. She would even bite anyone who tried to help her. I'm not leaving. I'm waiting for him. You can't make me go. Eventually, people just dismissed her as some wild madwoman of the mountains and left her alone. Chloe no longer had the strength to even sit up. The stench of decay clung to her. She watched the vultures circling overhead and knew her time was near. But she had one last wish, to see me one more time. She clung to life for 7 more days. The vultures grew impatient and began to pick at her festering wounds. Then, on a clear, sunny day, she saw my faint silhouette 100 yards away. A smile touched her lips. The foul stench of rot reached me. I wrinkled my nose and patted the wolf I was riding. The alpha immediately turned and carried me away in the opposite direction. I let out a sharp whistle. 100 yards away, the vultures descended as one. Let's not come back here again. The smell is making me sick. So be it. This should have been over a long time ago.